Let's do a video for the new guys. On this saw is a Stihl 325 semi-chisel chain. It's pretty standard issue of what a lot of newer guys would encounter. It's pretty banged up. The easy part's already been done. We'll zoom in on it for you. So as you can see, the easy part's already been done. We've gone out and we've got it dulled. This is a huge chain I've got. This one's a bit unique because I have literally never seen a new cutter bend that bad. That's something that usually happens when they're very worn out. But they've done it. They've hit something pretty terrible with it. So if you're new to this, what you're looking for is all this damage that forms along the edge. We can see it across the top, and we'd also be able to see it on the corners. What we need to do when we sharpen is go back until we have clean chrome, a clean metal surface across the whole face of the cutter. We need to get back, sort of back past my finger here, just into that clean chrome, so we can have a chance of having a decent cutting edge. Someone's attempted to fix this chain with a grinder and done a very bad job of it. I need to go through and just clean it up. So I thought what I would do is go through with some of the tools that a beginner might use, because it's unlikely that someone new to this can just grab a file and have at it. So this, I had to cobble together some bits. It still sells you a basic tool roll. This is another one that is a Vallorbe branded tool roll. The other option we're going to use is a Husky roller guide. Now this Husky guide is not for this chain. I can make it work just to show you how they function. So we'll just quickly go through what you get in these kits and how to use them. I'll just show you how to fix a damaged one. These are all pretty beaten up. It's what you might expect. All right, so first up, the little Stihl tool rolls. These used to be very common. I think now they're predominantly selling 2-in-1s, but I don't have one in this size. I had to cobble together bits and pieces, so it's obviously got a different handle on it, but they will usually give you a flat file to do your depth gauges, a tool for your depth gauges. It's got windows, you can check your work, but we won't worry about that. And I'll give you a basic little file guide. That will normally have a round file and handle in it. I'll piece it together as required. In the clear pocket here, they usually give you a bit of paper that tells you all your angles so you can go through and check whatever. So that's what comes in one of them. It'll just be a flat file, a depth gauge tool, a file holder, a file, and a handle. This is a Vallorbe style kit, so they just come in a roll. These are actually quite good. If you're going to buy one and you can access these for a reasonable price, I recommend them. They just give you a handle, a file guide. We're not going to be using that one. We're going to be using the correct size one. A little bar groove cleaning tool. The Stihl kit uses the end of the depth gauge tool for that. You put it in the end of a bar rail to clean out the rubbish. Vallorbe gives you a depth gauge tool that's double-ended. So you've got your 25 and 30 thou. These guys are the most precise I've ever seen on the conversion to metric. They use 0.63 millimeters and 0.73. Doesn't make much difference, it's just what they do. You get a flat file and a couple of round files when you buy their kit. If you buy a Husky kit, you will get your little combination roller guide. You will get a handle that looks like this. It has a 25 and a 30-degree angle marked on it. That's so you can line it up with your bar. They'll give you a couple of round files as well and a flat file. That's your depth gauge tool on there. So we're just going to go through and fix a couple of cutters. We'll just use each tool, show you the sort of job they do and how they function. We're first going to start off using the Stihl guide. I don't want to confuse new people, but just to touch on the idea of what we're doing. When we sharpen a chain, there's 3 angles that we're worried about. The point of using a guide, any of these guides that I'm going to show, is to take care of 2 of those angles without us having to think about it. When we use a guide, it's controlling the file's height, which is the hardest thing to do. All we have to do is try and hold this relatively flat, close to flat as we can, and keep these lined up. So these have got 30-degree marking lines. We keep that lined up with our bar. That's all we have to worry about. So it simplifies the process. You may hear a lot of people saying that you need to sharpen with just a file, but if you're new, it takes a lot of time to learn how to do that. This is a better option. So like I said, we've got to start with our Stihl kit. How do we make this cutter right? We have a lot of damage on the top, so we need to file back to clean metal. So we're not going to be counting file strokes or anything here. We're going to be removing damage. We need to keep going until we've removed enough to make this right. All we have to do is focus on that 30-degree line, keeping it in line with our bar and trying to hold it flat, hold it level. They have a reasonable cutout in the top so you can see the cutter. Hopefully we can zoom in so you guys can just see that tooth through there. All we're going to be doing is making sure it's sitting down on top of the cutter and the depth gauge. We're going to be applying pressure back towards the saw motor. Hold it at 30 degrees. Take the pressure off, and when coming back, you can lift it completely off. You can slide it to the front out of the way. Just don't back drag the file against the actual cutting tooth. So I've just got to go until I have a nice clean surface the whole way across that top plate. And I'm just going to assume, because like you would if you knew, that we've got enough off the side plate. You can generally tell by looking at the corner. Okay, so we're coming back to it being quite neat and clean there. If we zoom in, hopefully you guys can see that edge a bit through there. It's pretty good. So what we want to do for our last few strokes is just back off that pressure. Just very lightly push it forwards. Just let the file do the work. It will just clean it up. So there we go. We've got that one back to what it needs to be. We'll show you from this angle by zooming in. There's no damage that's visible across the top of the top plate. Hopefully you guys can see we've got a nice, clean, bright metal surface the whole way across. There is a little bit of a wire edge, a little burr that's formed at the top. That's just the chrome. It's clean the whole way through. We've filed everything we need to file. So that's the process of using one of those file guides. What you do, ideally, is keep them all within reason, roughly the same length. If you are using one of these kits, you can do that with the tool that they give you for the depth gauge. On the end where you use to clean out your bar rail, it also has little measurement marks. You can put that up against the cutter, the corner of the cutter there, and you can look at the lines as it comes down. You can use them as a reference if you want to get a rough idea of how long your cutters are. It's not completely necessary, but you do want to keep them within reason. There's very complicated reasons for that, but we won't get into them. So say you've gone around with that flat tool, that Stihl flat tool, and you've done all the cutters on this side, and you flip it around and do all the cutters on the other side. The next step is you need to adjust that depth gauge. Because these cutters have a clearance angle, they slope down from front to back. They become lower as we file them. So you'd need to adjust your depth gauge. If one of these tools is what you have, that's fine. Use what you got. Place it on top, a little bit of pressure. And you can see there's part of that raker sticking out the top. Put your file on it. Give it a couple of strokes across the top. It's now level with that gauge. Tilt it up to protect the cutter. And what we need to do is shape the front of the depth gauge. So you just give it a couple of strokes across the front. We don't want to lower it anymore. We just want to shape it, just lightly. According to Stihl's actual literature on this, you're looking for about a 0.05 to 1 millimeter long flat section on the top. Don't bother measuring it, just round it. You don't want any hard edges. And that's the process of using one of these tools. There's a lot of other things you can do with it, but if you have one of those Stihl tool rolls and you use one of those file guides, that's your process. It's pretty quick, it's pretty easy. You just need to go and repeat that on every other cutter. Let's move to a different brand. All right, this time around we're going to use a Husky roller guide. This one is not made for this chain and it doesn't really fit that well, but I'm going to make it happen just by forcing it. What you'll notice if you have one of these guides is the cutouts in one side are deeper than the other. So you can see here they're shallow, on this side they're longer. You want the deeper ones back towards the motor end, pointing back that way. Because like I said, that cutter, it slopes from front to back, it becomes lower. We need this tool to sit deeper at the back. You just position it in there. Like I said, this one doesn't really fit. It's not the right one, but we'll make it happen. So now we've positioned it on there. The idea of this tool is that the only way you can really keep your file straight, or the only way you can get your file to move across these rollers, is by keeping it aligned with it. So it'll hold roughly 30 degrees for you. It's down the bottom there to control our file's height, how much of the file is sticking above that top plate. And that's all this tool's really there for. To use it is pretty straightforward. You can use the handle if you've got the Husky handle. We're aiming for 30 degrees for this chain. We can use that, hold it up against the edge, and it will give us our 30 degrees. So if we hold that up against the edge, that's 30 degrees. You can use that as a bit of a reference as you're moving through. So what we're going to do is try and keep our file straight with these rollers. Keep an eye on that bit, gives us a rough indication. Hold the file down against the rollers and just move it forward. Same sort of thing, a little bit of pressure back towards the engine or the motor. And we need to go until we've cleared up all this ugly looking metal at the front of this cutter. We need to get back to that clean surface. Try and hold the file as flat or level as you possibly can. Keep that little bit of pressure back towards the saw. Like I said, don't count file strokes, we're removing damage. We need to go until we've got a good cutting surface. There you go, you can see it cleaning up right now. To couple with light pressure. And there we have it. So this one's fixed as well, nice and clean. Pretty easy to use, these tools. They're very basic. You will get slightly different results with the different tools, but don't stress about that. It's going to be better than what this was. It mightn't be perfect, but it'll be good. So depth gauges with this are done with this plate on the front. They have a hard and a softwood setting. Adjust it to what you are cutting. These clip down over the front. They've got a little downturn edge on them. Put it over the rivet. And we can see our top of our depth gauge is sticking out of the plate there. These plates generally aren't super hardened. You will wear through them. I've got a camera in the way that's making these difficult. You put your file on top and you file it until we've removed the nut. I'm going to come in on an awkward angle. Don't do this if you're doing it at home. There we go. We've cleared it. Generally, you don't need to shape with these. They will have enough of an inclination to clear it. I generally do though. Again, you just come through. Stupid camera. Come through and just round that off. And that's the basics of using a Husky roller guide. You would go around and do the same as that to every tooth. Try and keep them roughly the same length. It doesn't have to be perfect. But yeah, just go around and check them. And again, you can get better results than using these, but for the most part, it's going to be good enough to work. So we'll use the Vallorbe guides next. All right, so now we're going to use our Vallorbe guide. Same sort of principle as the Stihl guide. It is just a flat plate. It has a lot of different angle markings on it. We're just going to use 30. There is a few features on these that make them a little bit unique. At the end here, the section is bent at 10 degrees. That's because for some of the more advanced filing stuff, we don't hold our file guide level. We hold it on an angle at 10 degrees. The handle is down, so it's sometimes referred to as down angle, sometimes talked about as tilt angle. There's many different names for it. If you're just starting out, don't waste your time. Just try and hold it as level as you can. As you get a little more experienced, if you want, you can use that tab at the end to give you a rough guide, and you can try holding that file handle down 10 degrees. It will just increase the angle on the inside of the top plate. So that's the cutting angle, the angle that goes in like that. This can give you a small increase in cutting speed, somewhere in the region of 5 to 10%, but again, it is not super critical if you are new to this. Some of the other tools on these guides, on the end here, you've got little measurement markers and a cutout in the end. That is designed that you can put the cutter in there and it can give you a measurement of how long the teeth are. So you can keep them within reason that way. So that can be helpful as well. The cutout windows in these are a little bigger than the Stihl guide. That can make it easier to follow. So just like before, we line up our guide. You should probably focus on holding them flat. I'm going to put a bit of tilt in it just because I can. Makes no difference. Keep an eye on your top plate, and we're going back till we get clean metal. I will zoom you in for that. So hopefully it's visible through there. You can see we've got the wrong angle. If we look at the witness mark, we don't have enough angle across the front, and that is because this corner is been broken and all this top plate is damaged. So we're just going to go until we get nice, bright, clean metal the whole way across it. So I'm going to aim it up, get our 30-degree mark, and just go for it. You don't have to go fast. Take your time, focus on what you're doing. Just try and do a good job. These guys can actually do a pretty incredible job if they use correctly. That applies to all of them. It's really down to the end user. The more practice you have with them, the better you'll get, and the better the job you can do. So again, we're coming to the end. I'm just backing off the pressure that I'm applying, just letting the file do the work. Just clean things up a bit. So that one's good. We're done with that. So this comes with a flat style depth gauge tool, just like the Stihl one. It has two ends. They basically recommend your 25 thou for your harder woods and your 30 thou for your soft woods. You can use whatever. It works the same way as the Stihl guide. You place it on top, it sits over the top of your cutter, and whatever is excess depth gauge sticks out above it. Again, you just look at it and you file it so it's flat. So that's flat. Again, tilt it up to protect that cutter, and you can round the front of the depth gauge to create a shape. And that's how it works. Now, you wouldn't be doing the depth gauges now as you go with these style of tools. You need to go around and do all the teeth and then do your depth gauges last. So that's the basics of it. That's how you clean up a chain or fix a bit of damage on a chain using these basic tools. They all do a reasonable job. Some are slightly better than others, but again, if you are starting off, it is not going to matter. Just use whatever you have and do the best you can. Just focus on doing a good job, and you should be right to go around and get things done. But anyway, that's enough for today.